I got another Cajun joke.
Okay.
Now, maybe you fellas are too young for this, but this fella that got this big rice farm down in West Louisiana around Crowley, and they also got them deep gas wells there. Some of them things 25,000 deep. And this fellow from Oklahoma, Mr. Richard, no wait, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, he drills a hole on Mr. Plaison's farm, 27,950 feet deep. And he called Mr. Plaison, the man that owned that farm, and he said, Mr. Plaison, he said, we have to cap this well because it's a dry hole. Mr. Plaison said, God dog, you can't do that. He said, you put mud all over my farm. He said, you leave that cap. Well, Mr. Smith says, well, Mr. Plaison, I'd get arrested if I didn't put a cap. Mr. Smith, God dog, he'd say, I got to use that hole. Well, what you want to do? Mr. Smith would say, my outhouse is all full, and I want to move my outhouse from where it is and put it over that hole, 27,950. And Mr. Smith says, well, okay, that's a pretty plausible reason. Do that right away or I'm in trouble. But he goes back to Oklahoma and then he comes back to visit Mr. Plaison. And he found Mr. Plaison with a tear of sad run down his cheek like that. And he says, oh, Mr. Plaison, what's wrong? Mr. Plaison said, my wife, Clotilde, she died. Oh my goodness, was it cancer? Oh, man, no. He said, when my wife Clotilde go to the outhouse, she always hold her breath till she hear the plunk. You have to have been
That's a visual.
Oh, wait, it's not only the farm. It's not only the farm, but if you go to any of these national parks and use those $60,000 outhouses, that's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Mrs. Plaison always hold her breath at the end.
CD of that and take it.
They probably built them with soundproof.
There you go.
That was his.
Casey jokes are so inane.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
It's kind of like Portuguese jokes here, yeah.
Or
My
universal
dad
jokes.
was the greatest storyteller. Oh,
My dad was too, because, you know, he is an executive, and you always had to tell a joke when you started a talk, right?
Yeah.
You probably
Oh,
did that in your business too,
that's,
right?
of course, having been a public speaker and having been a professor in the Army, I know that's not necessarily so, but we all did it.
Yeah.
It always
Always got to tell a
starts
joke.
off the class on your side if you're the teacher. But my dad, I think Peggy probably heard this story many times. My father would get all those Cajun families together, and there'd be maybe my dad's brother had 8 children, and we were the biggest family with 8. No, we're talking about my dad. Dad had 6 kids. Me,
all you guys had.
Yeah.
3 sisters, 3 girls, and 3 boys. But Dad would always tell this Cajun story about that fella, Kelly's full Boudreaux. He got drafted in that war back in that World War II. And his papa is a farmer down there on the Bayou Lafourche. Anyway, Kelly's full, he come home on that combat leave. And his papa come run from the field when Kelly's full got there. He say, boy, he say, while you're home, you want to have a good time. You're a war hero. He said, you go sit on the front porch and rock there. You know, that's what they do to have a good time. You rock on the front porch and you watch the traffic go by on the road out front. And you'll see on the Moana, all the wealthy Japanese and Martin, Oklahoma people go and sit in those rocking chairs and rock away. But anyway, Kelly's supposed to say, oh man, no, Papa, he say, I gotta help you out. You work hard all the time. Papa says, you know how to do anything? Kelly's supposed to say, I'm the latrine orderly for the army. And Papa said, what's that? And Charlie's supposed to say, Papa, he said, we clean out that outhouse, clean the toilet, and everything is nice, cleaned it out. Papa said, well, if you feel that way, he said, the outhouse needs a clean. Tell this fellow done something that's wrong. He brought home one of them hand grenades they told you couldn't bring home. And he pulled it out of his pocket like that, you know. And he reached in and go, the pin, and he threw it in that moon hole and walked away. And boom! Teddy Shore turned around and there comes Grampa with his clothes half burned off, a stunned look on his face. And Papa come from the field. He said, Grampa, I said, what's wrong? Grampa said, Mon Dieu, it's a good thing I didn't do that in the house.
That's a good one.
Now that was a good one.
That is a good one. Yeesh.
That one's universal.
Down there named, what's his name?
Jacques.
Yeah, his name is Eric. Eric was a little Cajun boy. I think his last name was Goudreau. Eric Goudreau. And across the wire from him is a fella that is not his friend anymore. They turned into bad enemy. He yelled across the wire. There's no bridge. He don't got no boat. And he yelled across the wire all the time. Clarence, you damn so-and-so, I'm going to come over there and beat you up. This went on for years, and then the state of Louisiana built a bridge there. And he didn't do nothing, and his wife, Clotilde, she'd say to him, I thought you yell at Clarence all the time. They got a bridge now, you can go on over there and beat up on him. He say, okay. He go down to the bridge and there's a sign. And he read the sign. He read it twice and he come back to the house. And his wife say, well, how come you don't go across that bridge and beat up on Clarence? He say, I read that sign and say, clearance 13 feet 6 inches.
That's not a Cajun joke.
That's
a Boston joke.
They always poke fun at themselves.
Clarence 13 feet.
Oh yeah,
I don't know, Granddad.
That's a Boston joke.
What about the
Boston?
Boston?
What's a Boston
I never heard that
Daddy,
anymore.
what, please?
But
Like, come on.
Just put that, just look from the bottom up.
Yeah.
and then this story, of course, was a long time ago when they didn't act like modern America. There wasn't any of this getting familiar with your family life before you got married. Anyway, this fella, Charlie Ford, and this little girl go to the justice of the peace office. And the man said, what you want? And Charlie Ford said, we want to make marry and we need the license. The man said, all right. He said, what's your name? Charlie Ford said, Charlie Ford. Oh, you French, huh? Charlie Ford said, damn right I'm French. He turned to the little girl and say, Qui te dit, which means, what's your name, little girl? And she says, Antoinette Lecoux. And the man say, oh, you got a little French in you too, eh? She say, mais oui. Tell his story, he could not wait. Well,
I saw that one coming.
But that, in those days, that was a great
Just
story.
scary, yeah.
Today, it would be wasted. People say, what's new about that? There was a blonde driving down the highway. There was high rate of speed, and she was stopped by a highway patrol person who happened to also be a female blonde. And the police person says to the driver, where is your driver's license? He said, what's that? The police person says, well, it's something in your purse that you can see your picture on. And so she pulls out a little vanity and she looks at it and she says, there, officer, is my picture. And the officer looks at it and says, Why didn't you tell me you were a cop? I'd have been a lot easier on you.
I thought you said, oh no, that's my license. Good one.
He's gotta tell one more cage and one per camp.
I used to have a bunch of them memorized. I can't remember any.
Did you?
Cajun
Another
ones?
cage and
All
one
the ones
per
he would tell me, Damon and I would memorize them all.
Maybe I must have failed something in that story. The cop looked into it
We got
just
it.
like, get us hey,
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
Crack me up.
That was a good one.
Wait.
Yeah, we got
That's my
it. We all
trouble. I
laughed.
told you I'm getting to the point where the stories are not
That's good.
retained too well. And then people say, what's
Peggy
what's
wasn't
the
or
next
not?
line?
I know.
No, we got it. It was good.
And I say, bam.
I always got them in my toilet bowl.
Yeah.
We heard that one already.
Oh. You remember any good?
No. I'm just trying to think of some of the plots so he can think.
Right, right.
The Kaplunk one was
No.
my favorite.
That's the one I
You
always
told them all.
Which one?
I'm trying to remember some of the ones that you told us, though.
Two Pickets to Pittsburgh.
To what?
Two
The
pickets
Two
to
Pickets to
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh joke. Do you remember that one?
Two tickets to Pittsburgh.
Two Pickets to Pittsburgh.
Oh, 2 tickets to Pittsburgh. I don't remember
You don't
telling you
remember telling
anything
that
like
one?
that.
That's hilarious.
You didn't tell us. We were too young.
We just overheard it from the
You
loft
guys are just
in the
making
cabin.
that up. is what
We
you're
just
doing.
stayed up in our tents and we listened.
Yeah, we'd all sit around the campfire and they thought they were all
I
asleep.
remember Dwayne Graham used to tell that one joke. What it was
About
just
the,
so awful.
Oh.
Stuffing the
stirring
cactus between her breasts.
What was her name?
I can't remember what that joke was. It was so
Something about
bad.
rattlesnake Sally or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be the one where she cracks open the bottle with her butt.
Oh.
And he's sitting there stirring
Yeah.
the thing with his dick.
Those Labor Day campouts were unbelievable though. You remember those?
Yes.
The wet son?
The Labor Day campouts in Sherman?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The last.
Yeah, and then there were the campouts that I had with Paul and Scott
Yeah.
and Sarah's grandson. And he's a fine young man. He goes to KU now, but he's a great golfer. But he was not exactly the outdoorsman like Mike's boy. He didn't have a daddy. And so he came with Paul and Scott one summer, and I put the tent up right in the middle of the yard. And you know, we'd had a bear scare going around. The bears would come down from the high mountains and eat the garbage in the garbage can, knock them over. Anyway, I got Paul out there and Scott and this young grandson, step-grandson, he wanted to go in the house. And the reason why we didn't go camping out somewhere was I told everybody that's so that the boys could get into the house, but really, I think subconsciously, I didn't want to have to go more than 50 feet to the toilet. Anyway, yeah, so we pitched the tent up in the yard, and then, let's see, I think Paul was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and I was trying to explain to him about his cousin from Oklahoma that wasn't used to going out camping and things like that. And I said, if I could just get him to stay here once. And this little boy says to me, Granddaddy, I'll have a talk with you. I thought I'd die. And
Was that Scott?
we did have a talk. We finally got him outside. But it was,
Sarah's grandkid.
There's no
and
sense.
Abernathy's kid.
No,
Gregory?
Margaret.
Was it Gregory?
Yeah.
Or was it,
Gregory Pierce.
was it
Yeah,
Gregory?
Gregory's 19 now.
Oh.
Tell about being on the with your dad
What, honey?
when you traveled with your dad on the road.
When you traveled with Dad. Remember you traveled with
your
Grandpa
dad with
on the
Papa.
road.
Oh, you mean the time I went with my father to sell a barrel of whiskey.
Yeah, tell that.
I was 12 years old. We were living in Mississippi. And I want you to know that that business of ever hauling any alcohol or selling it was a federal offense, and they didn't give a damn if you had 15 kids. They'd throw you in the penitentiary. But my dad was desperate. He had done everything he could to keep us fed, and he borrowed $50 from his dad, who was a sugarcane planter over in Louisiana. And we got this old Model A Ford of his out, and we went about 25 miles, sort of up into the country in the south part of Mississippi. And we bought a 50-gallon keg of corn squeeze. It wasn't iodine and lye. It was real McCoy, but it was really rough McCoy. And I didn't think any of it. We took that to New Orleans. We paid $50 for it. We got to New Orleans. We sold it for $200. That was just $4 a gallon. And then he paid his father off the 50 that his dad had lent him. And I never will forget him telling me, "Son, I jeopardized your life, my life, and my family's life. If the revenuers had caught us, I would put them in penitentiary." I mean, if they were vicious. They really were vicious. They were trying to protect everybody from the poison of alcohol. And then in 1933, when the people of the United States voted that amendment, I was 15, almost 16, and I was the leading salesman for my substation on the Times-Picayune, the big newspaper. We had a campaign on. I think I got 4 or 5 new subscribers. I was the youngest one. You know, they had guys in their 20s carrying papers for $5 a week. And anyway, my prize for winning the contest was 2 big schooners of beer at the new beer bar in our neighborhood. And I went home on my bicycle after that, and I want you to know that Irish mother of mine, she was ready to go down and kill that damn manager for giving a 15-year-old boy beer and letting him ride his bicycle and all that traffic.
I can see the wrath of Granny. Remember the wrath of Granny, Becky?
Yes. Oh
She was so protective about her chicks.
Where was Granny from?
Hmm?
Where was Granny from?
Well,
Mama. Where was Mama from? Your mama.
oh, she was from New Orleans.
Oh.
She was a well-educated woman. She was a high school graduate. And she had a very fine secretarial job. And my dad was a salesman. I think he sold some kind of machine he picked up, something that appealed. He sold everything, anything that would make a buck. And then he gave me his last $20 in 1935, and he said, "You're going to get an education in college." He said he had a 4th grade education, and he educated himself. He's a well-read man, well-spoken. But he gave it a go. And he was responsible. I found a way to do it.
You found out.
Milk cows, worked on the Mississippi River as a longshoreman, did a little bit of everything. It was fun. And then the only reason why I got into the animal business is because in one of my classes, a big biology class, I sat next to a fella named West, as I recall, and he said, "Do you want to get a job?" I said, "Oh, sure do. I'm broke." He said, "Well, come down to the pond and meet my boss." He said, "They pay 20 cents an hour, and you get a bed in the barn, not in with the cows, underneath the seats, and all the milk you want to drink." Well, that was pretty hard that first year, but then I got into the plush prize herd out near the Mississippi River. And we would put the first milk into the fridge and the cream would rise to the top. So we drank all the milk we want right from the top of the can, mostly cream. And every day we got a loaf of bread, I swear, this long, 5 cents. We could live on it for 2 days with all the cream we drank. And then eventually I got to the point where I knew the manager of the creamery, and I'd take the milk to the creamery and I'd get ice cream, butter for my French bread. It's great. And got to graduate in 1940, and then I got a raise in pay. This man with a striped suit pointed his finger at me and he said, "Lieutenant Richard, I want you. I just graduated from the ROTC." And so, boy, that was the first time anybody said they wanted me. And I thought, that's good. And it paid me $140 a month.
Yeah.
I was making about $50 a month before.
Wow.
That's a raise in pay.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big.
Big raise.
It's all relative. I got lunch. I got the most beautiful bowl of stew, maybe 2 pieces of meat in it, half-inch stew, a big hunk of cornbread, and a glass of milk for 15 cents. Now that's only 45 minutes worth.
Yeah.
How much did you pay for that lunch you treated me to the
Oh,
other day?
that was
$5, $6?
No, those were about $13 each.
13? Oh.
Those
Yeah.
were Hawaiian plates from Ono's, though.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well,
That's really good stuff.
today the average person or student working at an ordinary job,
It's
they
about
work
$6
an hour
for
for
a lunch.
lunch, and we worked 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Once a month we'd pool our money, we dairy students, we'd buy a bottle of wine, about a half a gallon, or about 50 cents. That's all the money we had. Then we'd get sick as dogs and wait until the next month to do it again.
Oh.
I tell you, it's amazing what you can do in your college years, and no worry about the girls, because they didn't want anything to do with us. We would feed silage to the animals. Silage is corn, soybeans, and stuff like that, and they put it in a big silo and put water in with it, and it becomes acetic acid, which preserves it, and the cows love it. And you get it on you, and you stink all day in class, and you can see the girls moving away from you, even if you took 3 baths and rubbed it with fluoride. That was our favorite deodorant, fluoride. Oh, we didn't get fancy deodorants then.
But you didn't use deodorant.
But we were very civilized out here, you know. I mean, we might use fluoride.
For your deodorant.
Those were fun years. We worked so hard,
Uh-huh.
and there were so many guys like myself that just didn't have any money, but we got an education. Many of them, one of my buddies became the dean of agriculture of the Oklahoma State University, and had graduated from LSU.
Dad, when Bobby and I were little, we went down to New Orleans and we stayed with, was it Aunt Viv?
Huh? The what?
When we were little, we went down to New Orleans. Did we stay with Aunt Viv?
Aunt Bibby.
Who did we stay with?
With Dookie? say?
No, Bibby.
Aunt Bibby. Was it Aunt Bibby?
Oh, Bibby, yeah.
When?
That was my DAR aunt, we called her. Oh, she was a lovely lady. But her husband was a banker. And
Your husband was what?
A banker.
she was just a little notch above us all. And my brother and I would say, you know, did you ever notice our family tree? Grandma Barrios came from Barataria Bay, and that's where Jean Lafitte and all these parts hung out, because it was high ground about 2 feet above the marsh, and he would come in those canals from the Gulf of Mexico. But see, he helped us beat the British in 1812. in the Battle of New Orleans. So he was given a federal pardon.
So,
Oh, Bibby was her little sister. Bibby was Dad's baby sister. She was Sophie Newcomb.
No, that's where my sister went to college.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a great school.
it is good school.
What was the name of the school there?
Sophie Newcomb.
It's
I think
Tulane.
was associated with
Tulane.
Tulane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went to Fortier High in New Orleans for 2 years. That was an experience. You've heard of the Senator Russell Long, who served Louisiana for 40 years in the U.S. Senate. He's the son of Huey. But Russell was a fine. I went to high school with him, and 1 year in college with him, and he was a fine guy. I was an explosives expert, and I was teaching men the danger of booby traps, and I was setting a charge, and it went off, and I got blown up about 6 feet. 300 men were watching, and the colonel had them stand at attention and march off. But they say the fellas that had survived the war and went with Patton all the way through to the heart of Germany say that my unit had very few casualties because I scared them. It's a good thing, really, if you all think about what the military does, Navy, Air Force, Army, they practice war. The fellas that are fighting in Iraq the last year, they had no experience before. The colonels even, maybe they had 1 or 2 weeks in Vietnam as second lieutenants or something, but it's been a long time since we've been in a war, so they had no experience except the experience in books from past wars. And that became my job after I got ready. I spent almost 3 years teaching. And I didn't know the first thing about it except what the book said. We called it the school solution. And the only thing I can say is that I did work hard. I was interested. I had a responsibility. And they promoted me to major. And my wife likes that. My children have liked it. I get a little retirement pay all the time.
Really good.
And I make a living selling insurance.
That's good.
How'd you meet Sarah?
How did I meet Sarah?
Yeah.
Well, didn't you ever hear about that?
I've heard about it, kind of, but not really.
Well, I met Sarah the first time, and I wasn't interested in any lady. Your grandmother had just died, and I was the chairman of the membership committee in Chamber of Commerce. And they brought this new aide to the Senator of the United States, and I had a piece of paper that had a name and everything, and I had to explain to them all about who she was. But then I forgot her. Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't interested in any woman. I was only interested in a woman. And so I never called her until about 7 months later. It was the middle of summer, and in Oklahoma, in the middle of summer, you don't wear a suit. I put on a woolen suit. I was going to go and see a big shot government official and a pretty little lady to boot, see. So, at 7 months, old men are sort of like the bull in the back pasture. You keep him penned up for a long time, and he's stomping the ground. And there I was stomping the ground, so I put this suit on. I went down to meet this lady, and here is a lady in a business suit reading official government papers and reaching over into a bowl filled with salted peanuts and going like this. And I thought, my goodness, no. First, she's an important government official, and second, she's a lady, and there she is throwing peanuts into her mouth right there in public view. So I kept my mouth shut. I was about to die. But after when she looked up, I busted out laughing, and that's it all. It was 12 o'clock when I got there, and at 2 o'clock, I said to her, "Have you had any lunch?" What a stupid question. Anyway, she said, "Why no?" You know, girls at any age, when they're right, they're right, you know. And she said, "Why no?" When she knew I was going to take her lunch. So we went to the hotel and had a lunch and brought her back to the office at 3 o'clock. And then I committed the greatest faux pas that a fella could. Here I had this nice reception, and I was so busy for a week I didn't even call. And I called one night about 6:30, and I said to her, "If you haven't had supper, would you go out to supper with me?" And believe me, at the other end of the line was sheer ice. Not an answer, not a sound, not even a gasp. It seemed like 10 minutes before she said, "Well, if you give me about 30 minutes, I'll go out with you." But I didn't help matters by failing to call on her after an initial, excellent start. And then I left her alone. She didn't talk to that much. That just proves.
Next time I see her now, I'm going to see if she's still popping the peanuts in her mouth.
Most of us men can't read women.
You know, she always said when she was driving up to Tulsa or Pryor, and she turned around to go to your barbecue,
Yeah.
and she knew that was it.
Yeah, I knew that. After we had gone out, and let me tell you, fellas, you talk about a gentleman, your grandfather. I took that lady home at 2:30 in the morning. We'd been up on the mountain looking at the stars and everything, and talking family and nice grown-up stuff. And I shook her hand, and I said, "We're having a gathering of my friends this coming week, and if you can come, we'd love to have you. I'd like for you to meet them." And she says, "Well, I've got to go and see my parents in Northeast Oklahoma." And so I said, "Well, fine, I understand." And that evening of the party, what happens? But that lady shows up at the back door. We were all having a big time behind the house, having a barbecue, and I said, "I thought you were going to see your folks." "Well," she says, "I got about halfway there, about 250 miles, and I just thought I'd better come back." And Dr. Mitchell, who was a rabid conservative, and C.E. Price Jr. was a rabid conservative. These two good friends of mine, they had a long talk with them because all the wives, they were all good friends of my mother, and they weren't very warm to this strange woman that came into this circle, you know. And but these two friends, the doctor, the obstetrician doctor, and my banker friend, they visited with her and talked politics and whatnot. And she did come in and meet everybody, but my dear friends, the ladies, were not that receptive. And then Molly became one of the best friends that's ever
Molly Mitchell, right?
it was a pistol. So you all have before you, I know you all think romance is just yours alone, you young people, but I want you to know that those two old kids, 56 years old each, man, they got it going. Took them 2 months to decide to get married. They were both high class, you know. And so we had all 10 of our kids, and her parents, my mother was alive, but she was in a nursing home. And that's all we allowed to the wedding. No friends, no brothers, sisters. They went, oh man. They wanted in on that. But I was a working man, and we had to do this in a hurry, and we had to get off to the honeymoon because I told her only one night. I've got to be back at work. We got to work and had a great time at a wonderful club and had a nice food, and she went to mass with me at the cathedral there at noon on Sunday, and she says, let's go to San Antonio. I said, lady, I told you I've got to work for a living, and you want to eat? Well, she says, I want to meet your mother-in-law. Well, that's like that. She wanted to meet my first wife's mother. I thought, my God, this is contrary to all the stories in the movies and whatnot, you know, the new wife interested in the family of the old wife. But anyway, we got down there and met Maggie, had a wonderful visit, and then we took her out the next night, and then the third night, she had us come and eat with her, and then next morning we were back in Boston. But my first wife's mother and my new wife, got to be good friends before she died. And she was a wonderful woman.
Maggie, Auntie Maggie. And she always made that spaghetti with olives in it. Do you remember that, Tim?
I remember Maggie when I saw her in San Antonio and I fell in the river.
Can you remember Maggie?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You remember Maggie, don't you, right?
We were all walking down
Yeah.
in San Antonio. We went to see her when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And we were all walking on the boardwalk near the San Antonio River. And I was like 2.5 years old.
Yeah.
3 years old, and I was walking, and I walked right off the side and right into the San Antonio River. And
Dad's mom with you?
yeah, no, just my mom. My mom and another cousin. I can't remember who it was. Well, she jumped in and she saved me, but she lost her wedding ring.
Your mom did?
Yeah, and her old wedding band saving me.
I will.
San Antonio
Wow,
River.
that's weird.
Okay, when I grow up.
Well,
Crazy story.
you may become.
But I remember, dude. I remember landing in the river, and all I could see was myself sinking in the water heading further away.
Oh shit.
I remember that like that. In my head, I can still picture it.
How old were you?
Like 2.5, 3
Okay,
years old.
well,
Wow.
I would say
Yeah.
you call. Good to
Yeah,
meet
thank you
you.
very much.
Bye. Thank you guys. I'll see you.
Bye.
Yeah,
It was so
we can
cool.
say
Don't forget to open.
Is this the one? Okay.
we knew her when
Peter went
she
to
was an undergraduate.
all went. We camped with we're all little bitty,
Huh?
little bitty guys.
We knew her when she was an undergraduate.
Oh yeah.
Peter and I decided to go.
She's gone to London
Yeah,
So Peter, look at these rocks. And Peter's
to
like,
study economics.
Yeah.
you know, it's like, here, look at these rocks.
Marvelous
And I said,
opportunity.
look, I saw this rock sitting in Peter said, he didn't take it serious. He started grabbing the big
Are
old.
they books?
These are books for Indiana.
Pushed his whole body into the river.
Oh,
He
Oh,
slugged
cool.
up
They're
here,
little
said,
puzzles.
oh shit, you know, and I started running back to the house.
a book for a little
How
girl.
old were you guys?
So
Yeah,
he was
that's
like 2, so I was like 6.
Yeah.
Bye, honey.
But
You were freaking out.
Yeah. He said, oh man, Peter's falling down the river.
Yeah,
So they finally caught him, you know, about halfway down, you know.
we moved the cat.
don't worry
And
about it.
he like said, you did that. I said, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
It's funny.
Peter was a wild man.
Have a seat.
Remember when we pushed Peter into the river at Sherman?
At camp, yeah. He was so mad.
Peter had these cowboy boots that he had previously pushed Damon into the river, you know, at Camp Sherman where we used to have our Labor Day camp. And so Peter had these really expensive cowboy boots, these leather cowboy boots that he had had drying out for like 2 days, you know, when they were finally dry. And so Damon went up behind Peter and pushed Peter into the river like a few days after he had pushed Damon into the river and got him back.
With the boots
And
on.
with the boots on. Peter had his dried out, real expensive boots on. So Peter chased us with sticks. I mean, he wanted to beat us up, and he was just cussing up a storm and chasing us all over the forest, man. It was great.
Now I wonder if you really would have beat up on you guys.
I don't know. He was pretty
My
mad, man. That was the maddest I've ever
grandson
seen
is
him.
my
He would have probably whacked you around.
Just
He just looked right at me and he goes, I was laughing at him. He's like, "You want some of this? I'll kick your ass too." And he's just David's like running as fast as he
kid
can.
is very, he's big bluff, but he's very sweet.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Very,
He was,
very sweet.
it was really funny.
He and Jason are very good at that.
How about the time we gave that present to Mike?
Oh
At the same camp?
No.
Same that you're...
no, we gave. You remember how Mike used to work in the manure place out in Lyman, Colorado? He had quit the Navy, and he got that job running a front end loader at the manure factory in
Yeah.
Lyman. He went from
Yeah.
flying F4s to driving a front end loader, scooping manure.
I thought he was doing that water thing after he got out.
I think this was right when
It
he
might
was
have been
starting to move to Colorado.
Okay.
It might have been a little bit after.
His second son went to the Naval
So you guys have some kind of a networking thing.
a Navy pilot
Eric and I gave him this present.
making $25,000 a year, which in 1980 was not bad at all. And what did he do? He
Would you ever fail?
he gets a job on
We were at his
on
house.
the road crew on the Hinsdale County Road under George Hurd and Bob Hurd, his brother, and making $4.85 an hour. And I said, what highly technical thing do you do? He says, Dad, I take a shovel of blacktop, that's the tar stuff, out of the back of the truck, and I drop it in the pothole, and I tap it with it back to this baby. And I said, they pay you all of $4.85 an hour for that? Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Up from $25,000 a year to $4.85 an hour. That's what a week. That's about.
Well, 40 times 4, it's like $240 a week. It's
Yeah.
no $160 a week.
40 times $4 an hour.
If you work a 40-hour week, yeah, it'd be $160 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All right.
about
$160 a week times 50 weeks. That's just about
A little over
$8,000. We dropped from $25,000 to $8,000. But he was happy.
He was happy.
What he was doing was rebelling. He had resigned from the Navy. He grew a beard. He could never. They couldn't go bed with a beard in the Navy, so he had to shave all the time. This way, he could just went to basics. That's all. Went banana.
Maybe it was he saw aliens.
Huh?
He's like,
You what?
Maybe he saw some aliens, UFOs, when he was flying.
You know, he did tell me that.
Yeah?
He saw
Did he
things
say-
you can never talk about.
Flying saucers, UFOs.
Mike might have seen some flying saucers or UFOs when he was flying.
Well,
Possibility?
Mike delved in a few interesting religions. He was a Buddhist for a while.
Yeah.
Of course, you can do that here, right down the road. I saw churches and cemeteries, and he also was an educationite. They were the people that believed in reincarnation. That doesn't mean you were a dog at one time, but he had a reading made on me,
Oh yeah.
and I had lived at the time of St. Luke. I was a doctor. And I had a lot of fun dwelling on that, but I didn't take any of it seriously. I had a lot of laughs. Me being a doctor. I just wasn't the type. But
Hey, Dad, you wanna let's talk about how you met Sarah Elizabeth Richard.
Adams.
Talk
Sarah
about
Elizabeth
what?
Adams.
huh?
Tell us how you met Sarah Elizabeth Adams.
What about you, Mother?
We want to hear the story.
How you met her.
How you met her.
Oh, how I met her?
Yes.
Oh, well, her daddy had recently been assigned to the school. I did not work for him, but I worked for one of his friends who knew him in World War I. They both had been in World War I. And this guy grabbed me at one of the dances on Saturday night and said, Richard, I want you to come over here and meet a nice girl. I said, Colonel, I only know nice girls. Well, he took me over and introduced me to Colonel Perry Adams' daughter, who was a brand new second lieutenant, graduate of the University of Missouri, and we danced and visited, and it didn't ripen fast, but she got a little careless and got involved with some jerk that I thought was a grade A jerk, and I thought, I hate to see that nice girl involved with that grade A jerk. So I went and cut him out.
Good for you.
And I just simply put the past, to sail on, and paid a little attention, picked up some wildflowers when I was out firing on the range. Cheap, that's what I was. And we didn't make very much money.
Good old Texas there, Oklahoma wildflower there.
But I tell you, she was a great golfer. Oh, she was
Yeah,
great.
she started golfing.
And I beat her once on our honeymoon. And I know to this day that she threw it. Now that's not right, But it made me feel a little heady. Gotta watch those women, they get pretty tricky.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Now, Dad, how long did you know her?
Huh?
How long did you know her before you married her?
How long had I known her before I married her? I met her when she graduated in 1944. She had to wait, she had to go through that basic course down at Fort Sam. And she came to Fort Sill in the fall of 44. And I guess I knew her about 8 months.
She was a nurse, right?
She was a graduate nurse, a second lieutenant in the Army Nurse Corps.
Wow.
She had a minor in grain states.
Male control, I guess.
Yes, she had a minor in psychiatry. And she was just.
That's how she got us all through. She analyzed
You would
us
have
all.
liked your grandmother.
She really did.
When she was a kid, she almost cost the government thousands of dollars. They had a great big set of quarters at Fort Sam used for brick, and she was about 10, 11 years old, and sort of the ringleader of that group of Army brat. And what did she do? They lit a fire. Fortunately, somebody smelled it. Came and put it up, would have burned the big government building. Her mother, that's the kind of person. And boy, I tell you, nobody picked on her. She picked the
Dad, tell about when we wanted to build the Indian village in the backyard, how she did
built
that.
a what?
The Indian village in the
Indian
backyard.
village.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. I don't. You're thinking
It's
of
in-
something
it's
you
in-
dealt with your mom.
Blue book right there. See, Eric, the picture. Okay, what? And Dad, remember the carnival?
Huh?
Remember the
Remember the
carnival
carnival?
that she built? And
A what?
Carnival?
She built a
You mean somebody named Carver?
No,
No.
carnival.
Huh?
The carnival? Carnival.
Oh, the Catholic carnival?
no,
there?
no, the carnival in our backyard.
Carnival in the backyard.
Maybe you all did this when I was off work. She and her sister, that twin up there, they were always creating something. They were great at crafts of all kinds.
They did. I remember getting sacrificed sometimes.
Honey, I don't remember the
Pretend like we were the
carnival. I'm
Indians,
sorry.
we were
I think it would be fun if I remember.
Top, see that black and white picture at the top?
We'd be all strapped up so we could go anywhere. I don't think we have, that's how we play all day.
See sticking out on the left. Okay, right where your thumb is.
Right here.
That's the Indian village, and JP is the, okay, isn't that it? You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I haven't seen that picture.
Oh yeah, you guys are totally.
This is so funny.
That's JP. This is the big brother. He's a buddy. He's hunted in deepest and darkest Africa, and he's in the Vietnamese War, and he's quite a guy.
But Mom
You guys cool
went and found the bamboo
Yeah.
poles, and I
Machine
think
guns.
you brought the canvas back from the Salvation, I mean,
This commercial comes on and it's JP
Oh, but he's got.
shooting it. Yes, submachine gunning all his liquor bottles. It was great.
That's when he
Well,
made
you
about,
know,
what was your
Those
Fucking
folks
suckers
were
fun.
those folks were anti-booze. She was a very great reader. She one of her favorites was a book by a very famous Norwegian or Swedish artist. You remember that page, Karen Levenstadter?
oh, right.
And it was a story of a young girl in Scandinavia, I don't remember whether it was Norway or Sweden, who had growing pains growing up, and it tells about, about questions in a very spiritual book. About back then, it seems in that area they were all Catholic. I don't remember exactly where it was. I thought all that country was Lutheran up there in the Scandinavia. But the book does reflect. She was a great debater too. I mean, she knew philosophy. And Jason's mother was the one. I make great gravy. In fact, I made gravy for the Presbyterian Church's first Sunday of the month dinner last week. 300 people. And I made the gravy.
Wow, so you just make the gravy?
So they're roasted.
Oh, okay.
And I took the juices and I browned the flour, a little onion and garlic.
Just right, huh?
Huh?
You put any wine in it or anything, or?
Sometimes
Yes.
I've got a piece of a bottle of dry sherry that I
Yeah?
like.
Ooh, that's good. So how much did you make? A lot of gravy?
Huh?
For that many people, did you have to make a whole bunch?
I did about a gallon.
Whoa, that sounds good.
Yeah. There was some left, and I've still got it in the fridge.
So you use flour, you don't use cornstarch or anything?
Use cornstarch?
No.
No, I use mostly the brown flour.
Yeah, well, being from New
I
Orleans.
saute bell peppers and onion and garlic and celery and then that's after I get the emulsification.
better?
People
What?
never realize that browning flour is the only way you can get the
You can't
water
understand.
and oil to emulsify.
All right, so it's the roux,
That's
right?
why chicken gravy, you see, all the time, white chicken gravy is globs of fat in floating
Eesh.
gravy
Yuck.
because they don't
Yeah.
brown flour. But
That's like roux, right? Kind of it's from Louisiana, roux, right? Is it roux?
oh, you make a roux, sure.
Right, that's what you're
sure,
doing, you're doing
yeah,
roux.
Yeah. Believe it or not, the explanation of that gravy creation was not in the Cajun cookbook. It was in The Joy of Cooking.
That's right. I just want to say,
Sarah has one that she got in 1946. 5 when she got married to her doctor husband, and most of the 14s in Colorado. That's
Wow, that's
for
amazing.
people that are Colorado young people. One, you want to be able to cross country ski, not necessarily down here, but cross country, and you want to climb the 14s.
Right, we have property in Telluride.
Do you really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a nice spot. It's full of galleys now.
What is
Yeah.
she looking for
They
exactly?
move in.
She's looking for
What
the ones from
happened
last night, yeah.
about,
I know the ones
I
from
think
Banner.
around
The
25,
Banner,
30
I know
years
from
ago,
home, you know.
they
Portrait.
Yeah,
opened,
portrait.
they built a
I was
blacktop
looking
road
thinking that
from
you wanted
Cortez
pictures
Uh-huh.
of Clarice and stuff and just
up
last night
to,
and stuff. So I'm looking for the most
Telluride.
recent
Right.
photos.
Oh,
And when they did that, opened it up with the folks
Sorry,
from the
Mr.
west,
Please
and that's
find
what
the
it is.
new one.
That area,
I went to that. Isn't that
the
funny?
ski area just above town on
That
the south
explains
side
Yeah.
is just full of glacial.
Yeah, yeah, that Mountain Village place.
Same, they're sort of copycats of
Yeah.
Aspen.
I don't like that Mountain Village part. The town's still kind of nice though.
Oh, yes.
The town's
very
good.
interesting.
That's where we have our condo is in the town. Yeah.
Well, I have a house in Lake City,
Yeah, that's what Peggy said.
which is 55 miles southwest of Gunnison.
Yeah, that's beautiful country.
We could go to Telluride two ways, either going over to Montrose and
Right.
then go down to
Did you find him, Eric?
Telluride.
Yeah.
Or we
think
could
you erased them, huh?
go across Cinnamon Pass,
No, they're
Yeah.
there. And you don't
which is at the headwaters of the north,
Eric,
the
your son's
west
just pushing your butt.
He does
branch
it.
of the.
Isn't that Black Canyon beautiful? But oh, what a great park. Huh?
Beautiful. That is a bit, now that's the main Gunnison.
Yeah.
And
I drove from
we're on the north fork of the Gunnison.
I drove from Denver to Telluride down 85 and then
Oh, did you?
yeah, it was so
Came
pretty.
through there, then cut on over and went through,
Oh, that's one's
you erased all
name, not Breckenridge, that's not Breckenridge.
Yeah.
You did go through
When did you
Breckenridge.
take it?
Yeah.
No, actually, I came directly south out of Denver and then went way down over on
Oh,
Grand
you came on
Junction.
down what, to,
Yeah,
on
eventually.
I-25?
I-25, yeah.
And then cut across,
Yeah.
okay.
It was
Down
great.
through Alamosa.
Yeah, oh, so pretty. It was the most gorgeous day.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I just
I like
kind
that
of
one.
cranked
I
up
like
the
these,
stereo and got a couple beers.
Oh, look
You
at
can
that
just
up
drive
there.
Well,
so
I-
fast.
So great.
If you'd known, you
Oh,
could have
isn't that
saved
cute?
distance by going southwest
Ed has
out of
never seen
Denver
these.
on 85 or 285, I can't remember.
That's what I did.
And
Hey,
then
Dad.
you go through,
Joe,
Take a look.
take a look at these photos.
well, I'll be damned.
Who did those? Did you do those, Eric?
Where the
No,
hell is that,
they,
Peggy?
They had these portraits done.
Some, looks like a Chicago taxi driver. We've got some good pictures of you and
Do you
I
have any of them
together.
framed, Peggy?
Peggy helped me
Yeah.
by getting,
That's a great picture of you.
Keep going.
I've
Eric.
never had good pictures and you see, I wanted to plan my orbit in advance.
Uh-huh.
And the newspaper has encouraged me to do so. I'm afraid though of saying the things that I want to put in the orbit.
These are cute. Where'd you have these things?
In Oklahoma.
Oh,
My
this is
friend
great. Oh, when you went?
has a professional studio.
Oh, that's nice.
She's a beautiful girl, isn't
She is.
Oh, show him more.
she? Well, we had a good time.
Does
I
it
think
keep
I showed them
going?
all of them.
Huh? It's a what?
I'm gonna.
Oh,
I think
what
there's
you
a
do,
couple
you took the pictures and put them way up. Okay,
They're in here.
okay.
This is the computer's brain. Oh.
How did you store the
Don't you have
file?
that same computer, Granddad?
No, he has an
Transfer.
iMac.
That's what that is.
Even smaller.
Oh, he has the older iMac. The blue one.
Bigger version. These are cool.
Oh, I have that one.
You have the old iMac.
Big.
Oh, I love this one. I love this.
Oh.
That's still a good computer, though.
Yeah.
And
Especially for like a competing screen.
Those are nice.
Have you seen Eric's
Oh,
new
and you know
G5?
what? There's some.
Yeah, yeah, he showed me.
What is this?
That's Peter's like, but he's got some.
He's got a G5.
This is.
Who's that?
You know, I'm
Yeah.
but she's still in business. There's-
Yeah, she
there's-
is.
There's double that
If
road
anybody
out
knows
there.
where the can opener is, our kids are starving.
Oh.
Hello?
Here, I'll help you.
Somebody used a can opener. We had two, we have nothing now.
I'll help you, Luck.
Okay.
No, nothing is wrong. Come on, you guys. Somebody must have used it. You guys, I'll tell you, never put things back. Mad as hell.
I'm glad we got him.
I still think that grandfather changed. He's just the greatest thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
Interested. Just a